Good evening. We'll start tonight's May the 1st meeting. We'll have the invocation by Commissioner Firstner, then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Wilson. Please stand.
If you'll bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, bless us this evening as we work together and make decisions for the best of Ocoee and its residents. We thank you for your wisdom and guidance in our thoughtful deliberations. Bless all our city workers, city residents, and especially the men and women in uniform who serve our city and country. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
All right, we'll have roll call.
Commissioner Grogan?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Firstner?
Here.
Commissioner Oliver?
Here.
All right, we got a bunch of proclamations tonight, so we'll get started here. Let's see if, we're gonna have to share these out. This is municipal clerk, who, I'll pass that down, let John read that one. Then we have the Older Americans Month. And I'll pass that over to Rosemary. I was gonna take it, but I figured out.
And I was waiting for that. I was wondering.
And we're gonna have, the other proclamation is, let's see, the Lung Association. Is anybody here from the Lung Association? All right, good. All right, pass that down to Mr. Oliver. Commissioner Oliver. All right. Teacher Appreciation Week. Any teachers here? We're gonna hold that one. We'll get that one to a teacher. Nope. Anybody from the building department here tonight? That one we'll hold till. All right. Then we have the National Water Safety Month. We have them here, right, Jeff? All right. Looks like, and we got their names, so I'm gonna let you have that when you can call them up. Who got the seniors?
I did.
There's that.
Thank you.
All right, and then the last one will be the police, and I'll do that one. All right, we'll start with Mr. Oliver.
Proclamation. Every 7 minutes and 30 seconds, one woman in the United States loses her battle with lung cancer. And lung cancer is a leading cause of cancer death of women and men in the United States. And advocacy and increased awareness will result in screening and early detection of people with lung cancer that will ultimately save lives. And public support for research funding will result in better treatment and early detection methods that will ultimately save lives. And Lung Force is a national initiative led by the American Lung Association to defeat lung cancer. Now, therefore, the City Commission of the City of Ocoee does hereby recognize the week of May 6th through 12th, 2018 as Women's Lung Health Week throughout the City of Ocoee and encourages all residents of the City of Ocoee to learn more about lung cancer, risk factors, and screening options. In witness thereof, I hereunto have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Ocoee, Florida, to be fixed on this first day of May 2018. Rusty Johnson, Mayor.
Have her go up front and have the young lady come up, and we'll take a picture. We have somebody take a picture? Our camera lady does double duty. Thank you. very much. All right, Commissioner First.
We have a proclamation for National Water Safety Month, whereas the citizens of the city of Ocoee recognize the vital role that swimming and aquatic-related activities play in our physical and mental well-being, and whereas water safety education plays an essential role in the prevention of drowning and recreational water-related injuries, and whereas the recreational water industry has made many significant contributions as represented by the organization's involvement in the National Water Safety Month Coalition towards the development of safe swimming facilities, aquatic programs, home pools, and related activities. And whereas there are ongoing efforts and commitments within Ocoee to educate the public on water safety issues and initiatives by the pool, spa, water park, recreation, and parks industries. And whereas communicating water safety rules and programs to families and individuals of all ages is vital. Now therefore, the City Commission of the City of Ocoee does hereby declare the month of May as National Water Safety Month. Further, I encourage all parents within the community to ensure their children have received swimming lessons by the age of 5 or have taken water safety lessons that will keep their children safe when near water sources. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Ocoee, Florida, to be affixed this first day of May, 2018. Rusty Johnson, Mayor.
Read out.
Yeah,
The names that haven't come up.
Stephen Matthews, Anita Sita, Bradley Solkowski, and Zach Sicoli. You can come up front, please.
Thank you.
Let me go? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation for the May is Older Americans Month, and I know that we have 4 representatives from the West Orange seniors here who will call up after, but I'd like to announce that we have Dottie Lanowski, we have Dale
Raise your
Gilger.
hand.
You can raise your hand, we'll get you in a second too, is Joanne Lehman and Margaret Pelagios.
Pelagus.
Okay, if I massacred your name, I'm sorry. Proclamation, whereas the city of Ocoee has a thriving community of older Americans who deserve recognition for their contributions to ensure a better life in our community. And whereas the city of Ocoee acknowledges that what it means to age has changed. More than ever before, older Americans are working longer, trying new things, and engaging in their communities. And whereas the city of Ocoee is committed to supporting older adults as they take charge in their health, explore new opportunities and activities, and focus on independence. And whereas we recognize the value of community engagement and service in helping other adults remain healthy and active while giving back to others. And whereas we as a community can provide opportunities to enrich the lives of the individuals of all ages by promoting and engaging in activities, wellness, and social involvement, promoting home and community-based services to support independent living, encourage older adults to speak up for themselves and others, and provide opportunities for older adults to share their experiences. Now, therefore, the City Commission of the City of Ocoee does hereby declare the month of May 2018 as Older American Month, and urge every resident to take time this month to celebrate older adults and the people who serve and support them as influential and vital individuals who greatly contribute to their community. It's hereby in witness whereof I hereunto have set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Ocoee, Florida, to be affixed this first day of May 2018 by our Mayor Johnson. If you'd like to come forward, I'd like to present this to you.
Get your picture made. All right, one more.
Proclamation. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at all levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, county, and international organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now therefore, the City Commission of the City of Ocoee does hereby recognize the week of May 6th through the 12th, 2018, as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Melanie Civet.
Billy. Come on down. You go. Okay, this was gonna be the National Peace Officer Memorial Day, May the 15th, and National Police Week, May the 13th through the 19th. Whereas in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May the 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May the 15th falls as National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. And whereas every day our nation's dedicated law enforcement officers put themselves at risk to keep their fellow citizens safe. Our officers stand as leaders, educating the community about the importance of public safety. And whereas as the city, Ocoee observes Peace Officer Memorial Day and Police Week, we pay tribute to the courageous men and women who wear the badge and keep the peace. And whereas we appreciate the extraordinary efforts and sacrifices made by officers and their family members on a daily basis in order to protect our schools, workplaces, roadways, and homes. And whereas law enforcement officers deserve our appreciation for the work they do, which is to help people on a daily basis, protect our citizens, and if necessary, stand in harm's way for the communities they serve. Now therefore may it resolve that the City Commission of the City of Ocoee does hereby proclaim May the 15th, 2018 as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and May the 13th through the 19th, 2018 as National Police Week in the City of Ocoee. Witnessed by myself as Mayor of the City of Ocoee. We'll call Charlie Brown and any other, is he taking pictures or is he coming up too? Huh? Oh, okay. I was gonna do that before I read that, but before I go any further, I wanted to say tonight that one of our police chaplains, Pastor Margaret Marquise, lost her husband Bill on Sunday, April the 22nd. So our thoughts and prayers go out to her and her family. She's been on our chaplain's service for quite a while, so we give her our kind regards. All right. We got two presentations, and the chief, I'm gonna let you go second. We're gonna bring up Parks, Frank Parks. It's 10 minutes. 10 minutes is the time.
Okay, sir.
Get up and introduce yourself. 10 minutes. Set the clock. Chief, that goes for you too. Introduce yourself and where you live and address.
Good evening, everybody. Commissioners, mayor, clerk, attorney, everybody, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Frank Parks, and I grew up in a city, a small town in South Florida called Perrine, Florida. Yes, sir.
Address too.
My address right now is 2512 West Colonial Drive, Orlando, Florida, and that's the home address of Future Investor Clubs of America. Now, Future Investor Clubs of America, what we do is, since 1997, we provide financial intelligence training programs for kids between the ages of 8 and 19. Next page. My background is I'm a former investment advisor with some of the top financial services companies in America. Primarily, I was the first African American in the history of the state of New Mexico to open up an Allstate franchise. And from there, I ended up going and working for Northwestern Mutual, Robert W. Baird Securities, and I'm a graduate of the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. We provide all kinds of different financial training programs, from online training to community-based newspapers that we get out to help educate the community on financial intelligence. We host summer camps around the United States, and we've been doing that since 1997. Since 1997, we've trained over 30,000 students. We've hosted over 45 Winning on Wall Street kickoff events around the United States, trained over 200 instructors, hosted over 200 school programs, provided over 1,000 financial field trips. And financial field trips is when we take young kids and we take them to, say, the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ or Silicon Valley or the business district in downtown Orlando. And we've hosted over 175 financial training summer camps here in Central Florida, throughout the state of Florida, and throughout the United States. This picture basically shows you some of the students that are actually from Orlando that were on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, and we try and get all of our students and give them that type of opportunity. Our history, as I mentioned to you before, is we want to provide high-level financial intelligence training programs so that our kids will be able to save and invest their money wisely. We provide those training programs in very professional environments on the colleges, on the campuses of different colleges and universities, executive conference rooms, computer technology labs. Our training is recognized around the world, really, as one of the top training systems. We've been featured by BBC TV. We've been featured on CNN, CNBC TV, and last summer we had a television crew come over from France, TVI television, and they did a documentary on our training program. As you can see, these guys look good. They want to be successful, and so our job, and these guys are from, two of them there are from Orlando. The gentleman on the left and the African-American gentleman right there, they're both from Orlando, and that picture was taken in New York when they were up there going through some financial intelligence training. We have actually 6 levels of training in our program. Basic financial intelligence training, where they get everything from budgeting, financial planning, investing in stocks, to advanced training, where they learn everything about candlestick charts, analyzing various companies, building their own portfolios, you name it, risk and fundamental and technical analysis. Next. All right, also we have executive financial intelligence, because at some point, some of these young kids are going to be sitting up here on this commission and running our communities, so they need to have executive financial intelligence and leadership financial intelligence, so we provide that as well. Also, a lot of our kids, some of our students last summer went for additional financial intelligence internationally. They went to China, they went to Brazil, and we actually get kids from a lot of those different countries. Last summer, we had students to attend our programs from 40 different cities and 15 foreign countries, and we also have robotics financial intelligence. And I'd just like to say that you may have some kids in your household that you may think wouldn't be interested in learning how the world of investments and money works. I'm here to tell you I was once like those guys, and I actually got excited about investing my money wisely and bought my first home when I was 19. And for all of you teachers out there, I just want to apologize for causing you so much pain when I was in your classroom. So you never know how you're going to turn out. Also, what is happening now is we began to open up what we call FICA World Financial Learning Centers, and these are great for students who want to come on Saturdays during the summer and after school to continue to go through financial intelligence training programs. And I know what a lot of the adults are saying in the classroom, especially the ones who are my age or older, and I just turned 60 today. So thank you. Thank you very much. So
You're young, I'm sorry.
okay, all right. So we've started opening up the financial intelligence learning centers, and you'll notice we have a really nice technology, Wall Street lab, conference room, and all of the amenities that they need to be in a comfortable place to receive this training and go on to top business schools. I'd say about 80 to 90% of our kids that come through our training program go on to business school now and study business and finance. Worst case scenario, guess what? They can go do whatever they want as a proud American. I would just say that they save and invest their money wisely, because they're going to need it. This coming summer, we've got summer camps for the whole month of June, starting June 4th until the end of June. And then we're going to start taking some of the students up to Wall Street to New York, and we're going to take some up to Washington, D.C., all the way up through August. So next. And what you'll see with Future Investor Clubs of America, having trained over 30,000 students, they really do make you proud, because they do really want to learn this stuff. And what are the odds of a kid growing up in Miami and creating a company that parents send their kids from around the United States and around the world? This is where we host our camps all over the United States. And they get a chance to go to all kinds of different outstanding financial field trips to stock brokerages, investment houses, stock exchanges, you name it. Next. All right, so the benefits of attending our camps, they're gonna get T-shirts, they're gonna go on financial field trips, other financial tours, classroom training, they'll have little competitions, and the ones that complete the training will get certificates of completion. And we're looking to have at least possibly 12 students from the community participate in the program. Next. And I'll reserve the next minute and 38 seconds for any
Well,
questions.
I was gonna give you a couple more minutes for questions if you
Oh,
got.
okay. All right, thank you, sir.
We'll give you extra time for questions.
Okay.
All right,
No problem.
John, Commissioner Grogan?
No, it's a great presentation.
Thank you.
Do you want some, I hate to ask, do you want something from us?
Well-
I understand it's a business, you got a great business going and everything. Why present it in front of the commission?
Well, I was offered to do this by Commissioner Oliver, and I'll let him basically take over from there and answer that question of what his plans are for the community and what we can do to help. But,
Okay.
Commissioner?
Well, I guess I can answer that question. I saw this presentation a few weeks ago, and I just thought it'd be really great to present to the commission as a part of our initiatives as we move forward, as we invest in our youth. Again, we may not be doing it this year, but again, as we move forward in the coming years, there's programs that we're going to be looking at investing into our youth. And this is just one of the outstanding programs that's out there right in our back door that we can look at to say, hey, how do we partner up with our youth and our school board, as well as our communities and our children, and make that investment in our kids. So this is one of the outstanding programs that's out there that I found. There's several others out there, but I just thought this was a top-notch program that we would be proud to consider in the coming few months when we look at budgeting and how do we invest in our youth. So that's why they did the presentation.
Yep. All right, a couple questions. We'll just go ahead and, is it a 501c corporation?
No, sir.
This is a business you got there, right?
Yes, sir. I had the pleasure of being mentored to by Citrix Systems out of Fort Lauderdale, and they recommended that we use this business model as opposed to others. Yes, sir.
Right, that's what I'm just asking. It's a private business is
It's
what
a
it is.
private business,
So
sir.
each kid has to come up with their own money each child has to have their own money to be in the program?
Or
What's
they
the
ha-
charge
or-
per?
or they can be sponsored. So they can
Right,
be
well-
sponsored. They can be sponsored in the program.
Yeah.
The parents like you who make the big bucks, of course, you can pay for your own kids. But most of
I'm a
most of the
retired. Did you check and see what the mayor makes? Not much here.
And we make even less.
Is that
So-
right? So for those individuals who can afford the tuition, it's just like college. You pay the tuition.
All
For
right.
those kids who cannot, we put them on work study.
Okay, all right, that's the main thing I want to know. In anything we present, I don't, rest of them I want to make comments, but we go through the budget process in the latter part of the year, but as Commissioner Oliver's going to find out when we get to the budget, it's a lot of things
That's
that
right.
entail that pertains to the city before we get to the luxury stuff. But I think any family or anybody that's nowadays growing up would benefit from going through the financial part, but I don't know what part the city would have in it, but we can look at it during the budget process.
For sure.
But I would say that anytime you show them how to handle money, of course, they like to hand money, you like to hand them money.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
you know,
Love to
it'd be
spend
nice
the
that
money.
they learn how to handle it. So that's a good thing, but we'll do that during the budget process and see if there's any capabilities to do that. Anybody else?
Do you offer this as adults?
Huh?
You offer this to adults. I
Well,
think-
we're-
Again, it'd be something, we as kids probably would have benefited from, especially
For sure.
as we're seniors now looking, or some of us.
Yeah, for sure. For the last 21 years, we have not had adult training programs, but we're starting to do that now.
Do you
All right.
have a cost per person that it takes for this course?
Well, it tends for a student to participate in our training programs, which includes the summer camp and then monthly meetings and workshops and what have you. It costs about $1,000 a year, but the more kids you get, you're able to price those points down and give them discounts based on the number of students. So we try and pass that on, and then for the field trips to, say, New York or Silicon Valley to go visit Google and Facebook and all of those type of companies, we actually do a lot of our own fundraising, like the Girl Scouts. They sell cookies, we sell T-shirts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Is that it? All right?
Yes, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll, if Commissioner Oliver will probably bring it back up during the budget process.
Okay, thank you,
We can always
everybody.
discuss. Thank you,
Bye.
Mr.
Thank
Parker.
you so much.
Thank you. Now we have the world-famous Fire Chief, that's Fire Chief John Miller.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This evening, I'm going to spend 10 minutes discussing fire-based EMS transport. It's critically important. We've spent a number of years studying this and preparing for this. You've probably heard it before, but I think, make sure I get my slides right here. As you can see from our strategic plan we presented to you about a year and a half ago, we are serious at this fire department about setting goals and accomplishing them. And you can see from the ISO rating, #1 rating in the country, that we attained in September, and then 6 months later, we attained international accreditation. It placed us in 1/10 of 1% of the entire nation. Less than 100, 150 departments in the entire country out of 45,000 departments are internationally accredited and ISO 1 rated. We accomplished that in a very short period of time. I'm proud of the men and women of our fire department, and hopefully you see the demonstrated professionalism that we're trying to provide here. So we also, one of our goals was to get to Engine 38, and you all assisted us with that, with allowing us to go for a SAFER grant, which we were allowed to hire 12 people, and the federal government assisted us with the FEMA grant. One of our next goals was Fire Station 38, which I hope in the near future we're able to establish that, but we skipped that step while we wait to raise our funds for 38 to fire-based EMS transport. I think it goes without saying, for the last 70 years, or for about 70 years, Health Central, the taxing district, provided the ambulance service, and in the last 10 or so years, it changed over to private hands, and it was Rural Metro and AMR. And I think what you're going to see throughout the state of Florida, at least 90% of the transports that are done in the state of Florida are fire-based EMS transport. And so what is fire-based EMS transport? I think you all know it's transportation that's provided by the fire department instead of an ambulance following behind the fire truck. The fire truck goes, the rescue comes, they take care of the patient right there on the scene when 911 comes in, and then that continuity of care goes right through to the hospital, and they talk to the doctor when they arrived, and they told them what situation they saw when they arrived, the witness statements, and the mechanism of injuries. They're able to provide that straight to the hospital, which provides a higher acuity of life safety. The fire stations are deployed. We have 4 fire stations deployed, in the 4 quadrants of the city, so we're able to get resources more quickly to the scene. Resources already in place. We're only going to have to add 1 rescue truck, and I'll discuss in a moment. The continuity of patient care that I mentioned, it's not handing off to someone else, but we provide that continuity all the way to the hospital. And the good thing about hospitals right now is not only do we have Health Central right here in our back door, but now we have Florida Hospital, Winter Garden. We have Florida Hospital, Apopka. They're surrounding us. So within 5 to 7 minutes, we can be at a hospital and turn around back in service. We have a great benefit. The timing is just right for these hospitals to be opening up for us. You can see from the slide here, that's 3 counties, about 2.1 million people in these 3 counties. Every single one of these cities, municipalities, counties provide fire-based EMS transport. Who does not provide fire-based EMS transport? Ocoee and Winter Garden. 98% of the citizens, that 2.1, are provided with fire-based EMS transport. It doesn't make it a bad thing. Our model has worked. I'm not saying the citizens weren't getting the services they deserve. They're getting fine services because we are the first response 911. We are the paramedics that arrive on the scene. So it's not a knock. It's just the model is changing. The design throughout the country is changing to this new basis. So it's our time, and we believe that we're prepared and ready to move forward with transport. The current transport model, as I mentioned, is 911 is called, a fire truck or a rescue truck will go to the scene, and then a few minutes later, following behind it, will be an ambulance from whatever hospital they're coming from or whatever previous call they've been on. And again, that model has worked for a number of years. But again, if you look at the model that AMR has currently is 2 units assigned to Ocoee, 2 units assigned to Winter Garden, and 1 to Windermere. That's the way it was 7 years ago when it was set up. It's not quite that way now. It's just and mixed master units, and they try to get units to the scene in a timely fashion. But that's the way it originally was. So you see our proposed model of 2 full-time rescues. We already have 1 full-time rescue, so we just need 1 more rescue truck, and a peak unit. And that peak unit is just a unit that's a select number of hours in a given day that we have high volume calls that they're able to go into service and provide the additional transports that are necessary. The great thing, as I said, besides the hospitals, is the fact that we have automatic aid partnerships with the associated fire departments. Orange County surrounds us on 2/3 of the sides, Winter Garden on our west side, Apopka on our north side. All agreements. In total, you're talking about over 70 rescue trucks that are in one system that all work together to make the system work. So if our units are busy, Winter Garden comes in, we go to Winter Garden, we go into Orange County. We're currently doing that. Nothing has changed there. We provide the service, we assist each other. So nobody misses, we don't miss a call or lose any customers, so to speak. So that model is already really in place. Here's our transport statistics, real briefly. This is just EMS, not what we do fire and other type calls, but just medical calls that we run on. You can see the trend increase. The first year there, 14 to 15, went up 8%. The next year went up 7%. The next year went up 13%. And we're projecting that it'll probably, we only put it at 10%, it's a projection for this year, but more likely it'll be about 17%. So we took a conservative number, and you can see there over 4,000 EMS calls, and 70%, if you look at the model there, over 70% of the medical calls that we go on are actually transport calls that we transport to the hospital. 70% are advanced life support, where we start IVs and do cardiac monitoring and such, and 30% are BLS, where it doesn't require that advanced care. Here's the transport rates for our area, our county, basically. There you see American Medical Response. That's what our citizens are paying right now, that top column. The second line is what I'm proposing today to you to look at, and we'll propose a resolution for rates at the next meeting. So should you approve this, which I hope you will, then we can dig deeper into the rates. And then you can see Maitland, Winter Park, Orlando are all right in the same area. And then Apopka's a little lower rates, and then Orange County. And Orange County, for a long period of time, didn't have a CPI, Consumer Price Index, a rating that increased the rate annually based on indexes. So that's why they're still, at the rates that they're at. But they do have it in place now, and so they go up a certain percentage based on the, whether it's a fuel or medical CPI index. So if you have any questions, then I'll be glad to answer those, or go back to that slide.
How about, you
Yes,
want to
sir.
ask it now or later?
Anytime you want to, it's fine.
How does the Apopka achieve?
They, I can't speak for the chief, but I know that they've left their rates the same for a long, long time, and they're reevaluating that right now. But they have a new mayor in place, so I think they got to kind of, look at all that with the new mayor on what would probably be there. But they're obviously going to be looking at those rates. There's the payer mix. This is the projection on the payer mix. In our community, approximately 55.5% of our transports have Medicare. 12.3% have Medicaid, federal dollars. 17.5% are uninsured, do not have any, currently have insurance. And 14.7% have insurance. So that's a total, like I said, it was a conservative number. We estimate it'll be over 3,200 transports. This is 3,000 transports that we took a conservative number on. So when you look at that in dollars, that 55% on Medicare, if you look, the state gives $403 for an advanced life support transport, and for a BLS it's $339. So it doesn't matter if you charge $700, the state is only going to give you that much for the type of transport you have. So we broke everything down for those 3,000 calls, and this is the revenue that would be generated based on what the state would pay. Medicaid is federal dollars. You see what amount they'll pay, and that's broken down based on the number of calls we have and how much would be paid. Same thing with uninsured. The estimate is about 3% of people that don't have insurance will pay their bill overall. And then the insured, commercial insured people that have insurance, your collection rate is if you charge $1,000 on a transport, you're going to collect about 60% or $600 on that. That's the calculation they do. Mileage is based on $12. If you saw the others, they're anywhere from $13 to $14 to $12. So That is, for fuel is about the right number. And our transport, it's 1.5 miles to Health Central. Overall average, when you count the other hospitals, is about 4-mile average. So that's a fair number, $145,000. Subtotal, $1,091,000. The certified public expenditures, not to go into great depth, but it's federal dollars that can be attained through the state to balance up. The Medicaid only pays $190. That leaves, let's say it was $1,000 transport, it leaves $800 remaining. You can get up to 60% of that from the federal government back, and it adds up to about $60,000. So that is available to do now. Yes, sir.
Question again, is that on the carries you carry to the hospital without any insurance?
That's the uninsured that don't have any insurance, and our collection rate on that, there's 17% of the population here in Ocoee estimated, and we'd only collect 3% of that, which is 13,000. But our highest volume is Medicare, which was 55%, and we would collect 100% of that at $403 or $339 respectively.
Excuse me, John.
Yes, sir.
Other than the Medicare, everybody else will owe a percentage, correct? It's not completely covered, obviously.
Right, Medicaid will automatically pay that lower dollar amount. Now, if they have Part B and different supplementals and things, or if they're an HMO type of Medicaid, then there's additional revenue.
What do we put in place to collect those
There's
fees?
when I get to this next slide right here, you will see that this is the expense side. If you see about 4 down, it says transport billing service. We hire a billing company that basically everybody in this region around the state uses 1 or 2 different billing companies. We have already gotten a quote for 4% collection rate. So if we bill $1 million, whatever we collect, we bill $2.5 million, which is what we would bill out about right now based on 3,000 and the numbers we're using. We collect $1,990,000, then we would have to pay them approximately $43,000, and then $12,000, $1,000 a month for the Medicare fee that you have to pay for them to process and do the things like that. So that's what our fee would be for, and basically we could set it up any way we want to with them. Typically they do 6-month billing. They do it at 30 days, 60, 90, and like 4 times. And then typically after 6 months, if the city wanted to go to a collection agency, it doesn't cost us anything. It would just go to a collection agency. And if the city desired to do anything further, like affect their credit rating, that kind of thing, that's really all up to the board to decide after the fact when we get down to the numbers and everything. After we do the billing agreement, that's when we decide those kind of things. But the basic fees that we're talking about, the expenses, is the billing company is right there, the 4%. And you can see this is the resources we'll need. We'll need 6 firefighter paramedics at $411,000, an EMS lieutenant to handle all that call volume and all the reporting and things that need to be done, a billing coordinator, and then you have the processing fees and the increase in fuel maintenance and EMS supplies. So the expenses, I told you, with the revenue would clearly be a little over $1 million. Revenue, the expense is $678. And when you put them together, you end up with $471,000 and $731 in revenue. But the caveat is the peak unit that I told you about. In order to have that peak unit during that time, we estimated about 60 hours per week for 50 of the 52 weeks, and it would cost, as opposed to hiring civilian paramedics, which we would have to, if we changed our model, we'd have to let go, is to just do peak unit with the overtime at an average of $21 an hour. That way we can put them in service, out of service. We don't have to worry about paying benefits, pension benefits and such. And we can adjust their hours to meet the peak demand. It would cost us, I'm sure, less than $126, but that is the highest number. So we still have a revenue generation of $345,000. So what does that mean? That means we have 2 rescue trucks in service, a peak unit in service. We're transporting all our citizens with the help of our automatic aid partners. And we have a SAFER grant that has 3 years on it that we have to pay payments to the federal government. The second and third year, 25% on the second year, which is coming up, and the third year, and which will be the second year of our transport, it's $500,000, which is 65%. This money generated over 2 years pays the 12 firefighters, the 25% and the 65% that we're going to have to pay the federal government and match completely. We don't have to pay, it covers them completely. 12 firefighters that are on Engine 38 currently. And it covers the 6 firefighters that we have to hire. So everything is covered based on this. If I'm off by 30%, if I am just totally off on our numbers, which I will give you the caveat that I did start transport in the city of Orlando, which is about 28,000 transports a year. They're extremely successful. I say successful. They bring in over $6 million. 28,000 transports, and they're able to cover about 50 personnel with those dollars. So I have run these numbers before. I feel very confident with the 3,000 transports we have. I think, the time is now. The investment, the small amount of investment that it's going to take is going to be profitable, because after the grant is paid for in 2 years, the rooftops will be up in the northwest area and around the city, a lot of growth and tax, and hopefully that will be able to pay for the 12 firefighters going forward. It covers us for the next couple of years till our tax base increases. And of course, we're providing a critical service to the citizens of transporting. So to me, it is a win-win scenario. And I'm trying to talk fast, the timer's not
They
going,
didn't
but I bet
turn the
I'm.
timer on.
I know.
Your time's up. All that-
I think it's just starting, sir. I'm just getting started. Okay, and the last two slides, this is the capital. This is what it takes to get started. If you take the rescue truck on the top, the new rescue, we had budgeted for a rescue last year. And the city manager and you all decided to pull that last year and push it to this year. So if you were to take that rescue out that we were proposed to get last year and we get it this year, you're really only talking about a capital investment of $150,000. A used rescue truck, because we have a 2003 rescue that has 400,000 miles on it right now, that we must get rid of. The fleet just absolutely wants to get rid of that vehicle. And I don't think it's probably the safest vehicle to be doing a lot of transport with. So that, I think, is a deserved investment. And then a cardiac monitor and supportable radios. Everything else, all the other resources we have. So that's a one-time capital expense. And when I say one time, every 5 years, 7 years, you have to replace equipment. But it's one time to get transport started. And this is the last slide. This is our timeline. We're coming to you today for approval to start fire-based EMS transport in January. Already talked to AMR about a 90-day extension to get us to January. They're fine with that. They understand our desire to initiate fire-based EMS transport. At the next commission meeting, my goal is to bring the rate resolution so we can make final decisions on what rates you want, and I can provide you any additional information you want. The billing agreement, which is that agreement I mentioned to you, would be a standard piggyback agreement from a city similar to our size, and then the extension with AMR. We will continue our training. We're well on our way to being prepared for the transport. That just gives us an extra few months to make sure our policies are direct, that we're safe and we're operating properly, and the hiring of personnel. And then you'll see the beginning of the evaluation period, 12 months. We need a 90-day period for what they call lag time. When you start billing, you don't actually collect that day. It takes a little time for the first bill, the second bill, and then you start collecting. So they give 90 days and say, start your true evaluation 90 days forward. Then you can get a true year of what your billing is and what your revenue turns out to be. So this is a quick version of our plan. I think it's well thought out. I don't want to say it's make money, because obviously we're not in the business to make money, but anything we can do to cover the cost of our firefighters and provide the additional and what I think is a higher quality and the utmost of professionalism to our citizens, I think it's the right time. And I think that we are well prepared. We have our Medicare and Medicaid. There's nothing else for us really to do. We have the staffing. We just need the additional support, and we're ready to make that decision. I hope you are.
All right, I'm gonna let, commissioners, you got any questions, then I'm gonna let Mr. Cookson explain the process.
Yeah. Chief, as I understand it, you're going to bring a resolution at the next city commission meeting.
Yes, sir. My understanding is that our ordinance already allows for us to provide the service, and we need a resolution for the rate resolution.
Right.
That would
Okay.
establish the rates.
So
Yes,
I think tonight's presentation gives you an overview of what's being proposed, and then at the time, at the next city commission, by the time a resolution is presented, would be the time for the city commission to make whatever action you're going to make. So tonight would be a great opportunity to ask any questions that you might have for consideration of approval at the next city commission meeting.
And if I may say one more thing, sir. The only reason for expediting, wanting to try and get a decision besides the fact that we are chomping at the bit to provide this service, but that more professionally is because we need to get these resources. In order to get a new rescue, you have to get it on order, you have to get it, you have to get the financing set up, and you have to order it, and you have to have it delivered. That is our one crunch to make sure we that we're meeting that timeline.
I understand, but one of the things is, nobody's seen it. I know I knew what was going on, but
Yep.
nobody's looked at this yet. Nobody's talked, I don't know if Rob's talked to anybody yet about it.
No.
I know we can't talk to each other about it, but I
Yes, sir.
have seen it. So what we're gonna do is, I think everybody can get a consensus, we might want to go along with it, or they can say what they want to say, but it's still got to do what he said. We got to bring it back to the next meeting, put it on a resolution to vote on it.
Right, so the
But-
next,
so
the
that's
next
only
meeting
2
would be the
weeks
second,
off.
and the resolution can come forward?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, sir, I
Anybody-
understand.
No.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I missed it here. I was looking under expenses, and is there any insurance ramifications that we would have to deal with as far as the expenses is concerned? I might have missed it, but I just didn't see it. As far as, in order to run this type of operation, are there any impacts that we would have to deal with as far as insurance is concerned?
For the city's
Yeah,
liability?
from the city,
Thank you. No, sir.
standpoint.
When I was in Orlando, we went through the same thing. There was questions on additional liability because we're transporting now and maybe dropping a patient or doing something, that might happen, an accident while you're transporting and that type of thing. And there was no additional impact at that. Now, I can certainly sit down with HR and make sure through our insurance that there are no additional impact. But my understanding with a similarly model of self-insured and everything, that there was no additional impact. But that's something certainly we will follow up with. That's a good
So
question.
we drop a patient, we're covered. If a patient falls, it fall out the
Well-
transport, we're okay, right?
We transported about 100,000 people, and we did have a couple that did, but they have improved the models of stretchers that now they're very less likely to tip. They put a lot more safeguards in them, so it's a lot less likely,
That-
and a lot
that's-
more training.
That's another thing, we can bring that up, you can ask HR this week,
Sure.
check on that process.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned in your third slide, you show the graph where you see there's only 2 cities that's not doing it. That's Ocoee and Winter Garden. That's correct? so
I didn't
far?
mention the town of Edenville because they get assistance through Maitland, but every other city, that's correct. They're either part of Seminole County. In Osceola County, there's just Kissimmee, St. Cloud, and Osceola County. And Seminole County is either the cities I mentioned up there, or if I missed one, it's possible, but they all provide transport. Orlando only has a model where there are a few units, which I designed that model, a few units where AMR helps, but they're slowly transitioning each unit, 1 unit at a time, or some model like that to
Well,
transition.
that just leads me to my next question. So is there any thoughts or plans that we may be able to expand beyond Ocoee and provide the same transport to Winter Garden as well?
They are
process.
currently, just the little bit I know, and I don't want to speak for them, but they have already gotten their budget. He has it in this budget to hire 6 paramedics.
Yeah.
He's got 5 rescues already. He's working on a billing agreement. I'm not sure where they are exactly on their rate resolution and everything, but they may actually start in October ahead of us. They've been ready to pull the trigger. It just, I don't know their city management or what, the exact model, but my understanding is they're ready to pull the trigger at any time. So it's kind of a natural progression, and, but it definitely needs vetting. I appreciate you all looking at it carefully, and you let me know, but I've been studying this thing pretty hard and dealing with people that, around the state that transport is their business, so.
Okay,
yes,
thanks,
sir.
Chief.
Thank you.
What's the status of AMR? Do you know? Are they going to be here for a while, or?
I talked to their general manager the day before yesterday, Monday, and they have their general transport, or GT transports, that they do for Orlando Health, and so they have a thriving business between hospital and facilities and that kind of thing that they do well with. They have a small piece there in Orlando, but they're in Sumter County. So they're a big company, and they're around, but they just realized that this model is changing, and they just have a few different counties that they work for. But they're all over the country. I mean, it's going to take years for the rest of the country to, you know what I mean? It's the more established communities are making this transition.
Because that's always been a concern of mine, that they just may fold up and,
Well, they have-
fold their tents and leave town, and we'd really be in a predicament then.
Well, Rural Metro was just before them a year and a half ago, and then they sold, got bought out almost, so I don't know all the details of that, but we're here. We're here, the 911 community, and we're ready to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, I'm assuming since we provide fire service to Windermere, this will be extended to Windermere? And has
Yes.
been discussed with them?
I've spoken to the mayor about it, but I don't know if yes, the city manager have spoken, because he told me he spoke to him in the last meeting that they had, so they have discussed it, and it was in one of the slides. I wanted to make sure I had Windermere in there, that we provide the coverage for them. They will not miss a beat. Our coverage will be there for them for transport, same way it is currently.
Okay. Yes, no, I have to discuss this, I think, with the city manager, get more information. I don't really like pressure.
No.
And
No,
this
that's
is-
fine.
And
I mean,
it's
you
something
know,
I think that we have to spend time and think about and
Yeah.
look at, because it's gonna be a long-term, effect on our budget.
Yep.
And no matter how much you say the revenue is going to be, as you say, you give a 30%.
if it was, it's still going to
And it could be, but, again, I think it's a budget issue that we have to look at, so I'll.
It's a positive budget issue.
I hope so. I do hope so.
It's. Commissioner Rogan?
No, I'm good.
All right,
Your presentation.
I got a couple more questions.
Yes, sir.
First of all, and what she was saying is part of what I want to ask you, where do you find the extra money? If we said next week, where does the money come from? 'Cause our budget's budgeted out.
It's,
We have no money budgeted for this.
you talking about for the capital items, because
Yeah,
the other
'cause you
stuff won't
gotta
be till
hire-
next
you-
year.
How many new employees you gotta hire?
They won't be till next budget year, sir.
Oh,
It's
starting in
January.
October.
Next January, we'll hire them October to have them prepared for January. The only capital item we would have to get is the rescue.
All right, 'cause that's
and
the
that is
kind of
a-
things we
And
gotta
that's a
do.
lease option that I'm working with finance on that wouldn't affect our
All
budget
right,
at all.
that's
It's
the
a
kind
year
of
back.
things that all of them's gotta ask Rob and go
Okay.
through the process.
I would love to, yeah,
Read it.
do a
All right.
workshop or whatever you'd
All
like
right.
to do to present.
I think Rob can explain it to everybody, and we'll get through that process, as long as it's in the budget process, all right?
If you have additional questions, I'll be glad
All right.
to email it
Thanks,
to you.
Chief.
Thank you.
All right, comments from citizens in the public. Anybody in the audience has anything to ask about, not pertaining to anything on the agenda? If it's not on the agenda, now's the time, if you want to speak. All right. Go to the staff reports.
Thank you, Mayor.
And, I'm sorry, we have tonight our Assistant City Manager, Craig Shadrick's filling in.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 items to add to the agenda. Copies are placed before you on the dais. I will handle the first one, and the city attorney, Scott Cookson, will handle the second item. The first item, and we have Support Services Director Al Butler and Parks and Rec Director Jeff Hayes that can answer any questions you might have. It's a change order we're seeking approval for additional design work for the Lakeshore Center in the amount of $17,598. We, through several extensive reviews after the final set of plans were produced, we came up with some things we felt were needed items to add and reconfiguration to make it more operable and more secure in managing multiple events. So this change order, approval of this change order allows us to pay for that additional design work, which Al did a good job in his staff report highlighting. It affects a lot of different plan sheets, and that's what the bulk of the cost is, and staff recommends approval. And like I said, if you have questions, Al's available to come up, and Jeff Hayes, I believe, is still here in the bullpen.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Wilson.
I just have a question. I guess since I see this in here that it talks about the air conditioning system. The Lakeshore Center was supposedly innovative with an air conditioning system that would adjust to the temperature and the amount of
Right.
people in the building.
Right.
Was that functioning?
Yes, that
In the
works.
current situation, is it functioning?
Mhm.
Are we going to, how innovative are we going to be when we enlarge the building, and will that still be functioning?
On Friday, we're getting a proposal for a new control system that works with multiple pieces of equipment. You know, what we're going to be doing there is that we're adding a second air handler to take care of the addition that we're putting on the building, but we're going to have one chiller. We're going to replace the chiller that's there, that makes the cold water that goes through the air conditioner. It also has multiple control zones, and it has individual units in the ceiling where it can change the temperature for different places within the building. So with that additional advancement that we've got now, we had sort of an early generation version of that stuff. We're actually, in 4 years, we've got 2 generations past that for control systems. And so we're looking to test out the control that we're going to put in City Hall by adding it to the Lakeshore Center. We'll have the specs on that on Friday. That's why we had sort of a cushion in the budget that we had proposed earlier for construction, because we're still finalizing some of those things and trying to find some of those deals. But yes, we're planning to maintain that capability and have it operate better. One of the things that the building's been driven air conditioner-wise by humidity. When you have a big group of people in there, you're creating a lot of carbon dioxide, so you have to have a lot of fresh air come in, and fresh air in Florida is humid. And so the air conditioner sometimes has to run a little extra to dehumidify the air rather than just cool it. And so that's one of the things we're going to be trying to make an adjustment on, the way the HVAC system is designed for the new building.
Are we looking at solar at all in that building?
Not on that particular building, no, but we are looking at it as an ad alternate for City Hall.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I got a question. Where do the funds come from? The increase, where are these funds going to come from? $17,598.
Those budgets that's budgeted funds. We have a budget currently for the project of $4 million, and we haven't allocated all of those funds yet.
How soon will you need it?
Excuse me?
How soon will you need it?
How soon do we need the $17,000? Friday?
I thought you were going to say yesterday.
It's in the bonds. It's in the bond issue.
Do we need a
All right.
All right.
What do you need? We need a motion. All right, I need a motion for the
I'll make a
change.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fursten. Any more comments? If not, let's vote. All right, the motion carries unanimously. All right, next item.
I'm going to take this item here. Just to give a little background, we have a joint planning area agreement between Orange County. This joint planning area agreement was entered into in 1994, and it really arose out of a settlement that involves some litigation between the city of Ocoee and Orange County regarding some annexations. The settlement agreement, or the joint planning area agreement, primarily governs or restricts the city from annexing property outside of the boundaries of the JPA. And I'm sure you all are familiar with those boundaries. And anytime we have a property owner that comes in that's outside of those boundaries, we process a joint planning area, an amendment to the JPA. We have amended the JPA 18 times since 1994. The county has, after this 18th amendment, has told us there will be no more amendments to the JPA. And we've kind of looked at the JPA. We received an application from a property owner that wishes to annex into the city. That's outside of the JPA area. So we looked at the JPA to see whether it really even has any benefit any longer. And we don't think it does. It's old, it's outdated, it doesn't really do anything except address annexation. We think it's more appropriate to enter into a new JPA with the county to govern true planning principles. We'd still address annexations, but make a more comprehensive, up-to-date joint planning area agreement. The current JPA requires that if any party is going to terminate it, that they need to provide the other party 9 months advance notice. The JPA, the current version of the JPA expires in February of 2019. So we have until May 11th of this month in order to exercise our right to terminate the JPA. And that's our recommendation, to go ahead and send a letter, which is required under the JPA, to the county, letting them know that we want to terminate the JPA, but not really, it's certainly not an adverse matter or harsh action. We're really saying we just want to open the door for communication and enter into a new JPA with the county. A draft letter has been prepared that we would, that we're seeking approval for the city commission to authorize the city manager to go ahead and forward that letter to the county. Any questions?
So we will be developing a new, if this is accepted, we will start fresh and then set the boundaries for a JPA that are more accommodating to Ocoee.
That's right. We would, I think it would address not only annexations, it would address services that are offered between the county and the city, and really address planning on a larger scale, as opposed to the current JPA just addresses annexation. So I think annexations would be part of the new JPA.
So you're advising this.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to do that, to start fresh with the new JPA. Now, we have not, I understand Craig and Rob are going to call Chris Testerman at the county this coming week to give him a heads up. We haven't really had any discussions. We don't believe that the county will have an objection with terminating the JPA, but we haven't heard from them one way or the other on that.
So basically, it's a positive situation, but because of having a current JPA, am I correct? It'll set the boundaries. Am I correct?
The
The
current
new.
the current JPA sets the boundaries.
Right.
If we terminate the JPA, we are no longer under any boundaries, but we would enter into a new JPA that would likely set new boundaries.
New boundaries. Okay.
Scott, if I may, Mayor, speak?
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I think you should probably address is the protection that we would have. Certainly, there's protection under the JPA with the county, but we feel after looking at it that this is the right move to make in order to start that dialogue. But we do enjoy some measures of benefit by having this JPA. So Scott did a good job of making it clear that we have no intention of not having a JPA, but in the event that we feel, such as in the current case, there are some times that it should be allowed to be amended further, and it's been amended 18 times, so we've jokingly laughed across the table with county officials about, well, if we've had to amend it 18 times, maybe it's time to create a new one that addresses everything appropriately and how it should work. So that is an accurate statement, Commissioner Wilson. This is not something that's adverse, like the city attorney said. It is something that we want to proceed forward with a great measure of goodwill with the county.
Mayor, may I ask one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
Would it be possible, Craig, maybe, I know we love to throw acronyms around JPA, and there's people out there that have no idea what we're talking about. Would it be, could you give a quick synopsis of it, just, again, because we get asked the next day, or there's people sitting out there that shake your head, do you know what a JPA is? No. So, you give the Cliff
Yes.
Note version, if you don't mind.
A JPA stands for Joint Planning Agreement, which it's a special type of interlocal agreement that's defined in, I believe, Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes that allows us to enter into an agreement with other local governments such as the county or another municipality, and in those types of agreements, you address specific things such as compatibility along borders, annexations, which is the case in ours, and it allows a form of adopted written mediation, for lack of a better term, to resolve differences and move forward in an amicable fashion. And a lot of local governments have JPAs with their county that they reside in, and they do address a lot of things that ours doesn't necessarily address, such as how you deal with conservation subdivisions, or planning in rural areas, environmental planning issues, water conservation, land use planning, those types of things. But it's a good tool, and it does provide some measure of protection because it's an agreement. So when we've agreed, which in our case, we've agreed on a boundary with the county within which we can proceed with a more refined annexation process than otherwise. And that's kind of the Reader's Digest condensed version.
Okay.
All right, so we need to vote on that too. All right, we need a motion.
Oh, yeah, I make the motion.
All right, Commissioner Wilson makes the motion. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Rogan. Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Now, that it, Craig?
Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioners' announcements. Commissioner Grogan.
I have none, thank you.
Commissioner Wilson.
The only thing I want to say is that I know I'm a member of the Women's Club, but if anyone gets a chance to drive by the Women's Club, we're putting a new face on the front of it, kind of sprucing it up, and I think it adds something to our downtown plan that we're doing here, so I hope you get a chance to look at it. It's a work in progress, but the Women's Club is putting a lot of effort into this to spruce it up and for our residents to be proud of the community. So, thank you. That's good.
They need to get somebody to donate some landscaping to them. It's not very.
They're working on that, and they're working on railings for the front, because they've just gone ahead and made it, I think the correct word is ADA compatible.
Yeah, yeah. I see
There's a
that.
word there, I may have it wrong.
Okay.
But, so, yeah, they are working on it, but again, I think in the new scheme of what we're doing downtown, that the Women's Club is putting money into this, so that we'll be proud of adding it to the new lakefront.
Yeah.
So, take a look, it's great, and more's coming along. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Firstner.
Not at this time.
Commissioner Oliver?
Yes.
On this presentation you got here,
Yes.
I will tell you that this is something we're gonna have to bring up at budget too, so.
No.
I got a couple questions when you go ahead and do it, and then
All right, well, let me
you know.
present it, then we'll get to the questions
Yeah,
and
we'll-
go from there.
I see the start date says May, but there's no way that we go through the budget process.
Okay, well, let's go
Okay,
through it.
all right.
All right. Okay, the youth are the future of our community. Okay, yet every teen has battled with stress and the academic, social, and economic competitions. These stresses, they go unmanaged. They can be determined, actually they go undetermined, and they can cause unhealthy personal development that leads to depression, chronic anxiety, drugs and alcohol abuse, and eventually thoughts of suicide. Studies have shown that the lack of that these millennials have a lack of work experience. Because they focus on school and extracurricular activities, many professionals believe this contributes to the lack of soft skills. So when they enter in the workforce, therefore, they're unprepared. Therefore, we as our elected officials and leaders in our community have a responsibility towards the well-being and safekeeping of our youth. Yes, it takes a village. We have invested millions of dollars on projects designed towards moving our fair city into a future that we all can be proud of. However, we failed to make the greatest investment of all. That investment is to our youth. We are the youth are our future mayors, commissioners, and also city managers. Okay, so let's start focusing our partners. Let's start looking at focusing our partnerships with our local high school students and nurturing relationships that will foster in a new generation of leaderships in our community. Providing summer jobs amongst the ranks of our municipal structures is a win-win for all. By sponsoring this initiative and committing to hiring our youth, other businesses and organizations in our community will follow suit and participate in hiring youth workers for summer employment. What a better way to invest in our future. The returns and the payoffs for this will be seen throughout many generations to come. So, as an introduction, our city was founded in the mid-1800s as a small agricultural settlement. Although we've had a few bumps and bruises along the way, we've emerged like a phoenix from the ashes to become a thriving multicultural community. Today we stand together as one Ocoee, taking care of our own. Our mission is to invest in our future by affording summer jobs opportunities to our youth. We recognize that they are the future of this great city. Therefore, we cannot afford to miss any opportunity to make an investment that will last for generations to come. So look at the need here. On page 5, you'll see that there's the need. I identified needs and problems here. Although our national, state, and local juvenile violent crime statistics have declined, many other juvenile crimes have emerged as a result of the technological advances such as electronic larceny, fraud, identity theft, just to name a few. The juvenile crime rate in our city is down substantially. However, there's still a need to keep it that way. As our economy starts to grow, we're going to have to create new outlets and opportunities for our youth to be able to be a part of our growth. After probing our city records in an effort to find a past program that might resemble this proposed project, our search turned up no evidence of any such program or its past existence. Although Parks and Recreation hires 21 youth each summer, 9 lifeguards, and 12 park aides, a lot more needs to be done. Without viable outlets for our youth, it is a reasonable assumption that the juvenile crime rate will increase in the coming years. Not only will it rise for juveniles within our community, but it's also will also rise in communities around West Orange County. So what are the goals here? What are the objectives? It should be the desire of our municipal leaders to address this issue of unemployment youth in our city. There are specific benefits to hiring youth. One is going to be, it gains independence. It gives them financial appreciation. It gives them, it helps them to build their resumes. It helps them to actually to get better workforce experience, to work as a team, to build soft skills. The desired goal of this youth summer program, this summer, the desired goal of this youth summer job fair is to do one thing, to do several things. Partner with our local high school and county school board, partner with local businesses and organizations, expose our youth workers into the inner workings of our municipal structure, offer paid summer jobs to those qualified youth. We propose the city will sponsor and promote the youth summer program. And we also propose that the city of Ocoee will hire 5 youth workers for the 2018 youth summer job program. These youth workers will work in various departments such as HR, finance, IT, just to name a few. This will provide them with an opportunity to learn soft skills, teamwork, responsibilities, and possibly a future career path. So now, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about 2 different things. I'm talking about sponsoring a job fair. That's just saying that we want to be able to sponsor a job fair to bring in other businesses and organizations in to hire our youth. And 2, I'm talking about standing on the forefront and saying that, you know what, if we want to sponsor a job fair, why not be the first ones to hire our youth? So I'm talking about 2 distinct different proposals here. So now, look at the procedures in the scope of the work here. It is proposed that the city leadership will vote to approve a first annual Ocoee Youth Summer Job Fair. It is further proposed that the city promote and market this event to local businesses and organizations in an effort to employ our local youth workers. The expertise of our key city personnel can be used to help plan and implement the program. As a result of this need for this program, over 50% of the logistical work has already been completed. A timetable and budget along with the key personnel and potential partners have been identified on the next page. So if you go to page 7, you'll see the timetable. The timetable starting at phase 1, which starts tonight, if we get approval from the commission to just accept the job fair. We can start from there all the way down to phase 6, which actually implements it in June 9th of this year. Now, looking at the budget is broken up under subsection 7. The budget is broken up into 5 phases, and it's actually 2 sections of it. The first section, section 1, 2, 3, and 4, identifies just the job fair alone, which is about $2,000, and I'm sure that we can come under that budget. If the city would actually go beyond that and say, you know what, we will take the lead on this and hire the five workers, that's additional $12,000. So it's a total of $15,200 to actually implement the program as well as sponsor the job fair. So that's what we're looking at there. I've identified on page 8 the key personnel will be involved. That would be the city manager, the HR director, the accounting manager, and the department heads. How do we evaluate this program? Basically, the city manager will actually designate a staff member to oversee the management and evaluation of the program. The program manager will conduct an end-of-program evaluation and report its findings back to the commission at the end of the program. So we're looking for these students to work for about 12 weeks. So basically what it breaks down to, I'm going back to page 7 here. It breaks down, we look at 5 youth workers. The workers will be hired for a period of 10 to 12 weeks over the summer at a rate of $10 per hour. The workers will be required to work a minimum of 20 hours per week. It also proposed that the city manager will oversee the project itself. So going back over to page 8, appendix 10 here, you'll see the different partners, the potential partners that we've identified here. Some we've already communicated with that they would love to be a part of this program. The job fair, Orange County Public Schools, they would love to be a part of this, as we have members out in the audience from Orange County Public Schools, West Orange Chamber, Disney, Universal, Publix, LA Fitness, Chick-fil-A, just to name a few of those that are interested in being a part of this job fair. So what is the next step? If I've said all this, the next step is just simply to get the commission buy-in and approval to say, hey, we can support the job fair, and also to take the lead and say, hey, look, we have discretionary funds, we have contingency funds of $31,000 that we're able to push this program through. So the funding is there. We just need you to be willing and able to do that. So again, we are building, at a rapid pace here. 429, a downtown project. We have a lot going on that we've sunk millions of dollars into. So we need to look at investing in our future. Again, if we do all these things and don't invest into our future, the infrastructure, and don't invest in our future, then it's for naught. So right. I think that we have a responsibility to do that, and I think that Stephen Groulet said it best. He said, he says I, but I'm gonna change it to we. We should pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, that we can do, or any kindness that we can show to any human being, let us do it now. Let us not defer nor neglect it, for we should only pass this way but once. So we only get one opportunity to do the right thing. I think that this would be the right thing to do as far as investing in our future and in our youth.
All right. Commissioner Grogan?
I don't know where to begin. First of all, I think it should be something taken under budget time, an investment like this. I think it's a pretty good idea. I don't know in particularities how many, we have 350 employees with the city. So it's not like we don't employ people. We have a lot. And like you said,
I'm focusing on youth now.
Well,
like
let him finish. Let him finish.
Go ahead.
I'm not up here to debate it with you, okay? I'm just giving my opinion. And we do have a Parks and Rec department that does do the part-time hiring in the summer for the youth. It's not that I'm against anything here, but I'm not sure I want to pull out contingency money to support it right now.
All right, before I go to the next commissioner, I will make a couple comments. First comment is, there's a thing on our policies at the city that you have to be 18, except for lifeguards. Lifeguards can be 60. We have an age limit of 18 working for the city. The other thing is, who would be the program coordinator?
City manager.
City,
actually,
well,
we're
we'd have
coordinated.
to talk to him first, too. He's got his hands full.
We've already had a conversation about this, and I think that I want to get Craig to maybe make some comments about what we've talked about with this particular program.
Let me finish, okay?
Well, you asked the question.
I know, I
answering your
just
question.
asked that one.
Okay.
All right, who picks the youth?
That's through the drive fair. That goes to HR.
No, well, all right, what I would say, if we ever come up with a program like this, we'd have to set up a committee. We'd elect somebody from the commissioners to be on that board also. The other thing is, and I'll make a comment here, I disagree with, on your second paragraph. And I think anytime you help youth, it's an excellent thing. We all try to do that. I know I went to work when I was real young at 14 at Winn-Dixie, went and got my own job. I got 2 granddaughters in high school that are working, went out and got a job. You know, we didn't have to get them a job, they went out and got the job. But here's the thing, however, we have failed to make the greatest investment of all, the investment of your youth. You don't know if you've been around or not, but we do a lot of stuff for our youth. We do a lot of money spending on our youth and our activities we do, put through the recreation department and our spring fling and all our different activities. So that's not a fair statement, Commissioner Oliver. So our staff, our employees, our commissioners, they're all involved with youth activities. So I just wanted to say that to you. We hire, and as you said, we hire the 21 youth each summer. We hire 9 lifeguards. That's 30 right there. So, and we also have to manage the money and go through the budget process. So as you will find out, starting in August, that is where it'll get down to the debates of the budget. And we keep a little money in the contingency fund for certain emergencies and things like that. So I just wanted everybody to know that there is an age thing. I don't know how we'd go about that. We'd have to address that issue, but there's no way we can start this in May.
Well,
Now, you can do the job fair, you could have a job fair and bring in all the other companies. You say the Orange County School Board, they're gonna hire school kids. If they wanna come and you wanna do a job fair, that can be done. We can do the job fair. But doing the other part about hiring kids now and all that, we can't prove that till we go through the budget process.
Well, I certainly understand that,
Yeah.
but let me just kind of qualify my statement. The statement was, and I understand that you guys do a lot for our youth. Again, being a coach at the Ocoee Bulldog Field, I see plenty of plaques out there from the appreciation that you guys have supported those programs, Little League and things of that nature. I was kind of getting to just a little bit more beyond that. I'm talking about being able to afford a youth the opportunity to learn what goes on within the structure of our city. Being able to work in different departments like finance, being able to work in IT department, so to get to understand how the inner workings of our city, how it goes. So therefore, it gives them an idea as to a different career path. Every kid's not going to go to college, but every kid should be afforded an opportunity to have a fair shot at a career that they can be proud of and raise a family. So I'm just kind of looking at it from that standpoint. That's all.
Yeah, we all
Not to negate or to downgrade anything that's been done in the past at all. Just looking at enhancing our investment opportunities with our youth.
That's why I mentioned the age thing, because there is an insurance rider that goes along with it, and we'll have to talk to Gene Wilder.
Yeah. So that discussion has already been had as well.
It
So
ain't been had to us.
exactly. Not to you, but it has been had.
Not just to me, but I mean all of us, 'cause we can't
Yeah,
talk to
absolutely.
each other, so.
Absolutely.
All right, so here's the thing. You wanna make a comment?
Are you
John's
finished?
already finished.
I'm just gonna say,
Yeah.
Commissioner Oliver, I commend you on your enthusiasm in bringing a new project, because it does open our eyes to things that may be needed. I realized when I became commissioner that it takes about 6 months to buy a pack of chewing gum for the city. Okay, so when you put down these dates, I'm sorry, but it's, I think I'm quoting Rob on that one, but it was close. I mean, I want everything done yesterday and find out that it takes time. The unfortunate part, the dates that I see here, I would have a problem with, because as you just heard me say earlier, I'm gonna have to think over things. The one thing I'd like to just bring to your attention, I think that Senator Bracy put on a job fair for youth at one point, and again, I think it'd be good to talk to him. I mean, we've got some youth here I know that are, they've helped with our spring fling, and want to give them attention, POPS program. And okay, good, you guys were very helpful to us with the spring fling. And again, our youth are very important to us. I'm just looking at the dates, because you feel as though when you get kind of boxed into a corner, I hate to say the answer sometimes for me is like, no, because I like to think about it. I would almost thinking now about what you want to do would be for next summer, because it's something that I think we would have to work over and see what's going on. I would love to talk to Senator Bracy and see how he did with his youth program that I'm quite sure it was last year, I might be wrong, but I think they had a youth program, a youth losing my words here, sorry, employment program before school ended. So again, I would like to get some information to move forward, to see what we can do as a commission. I'm not saying just basically talk to Rob, but I think it's something we have to think about and look at. And your dates are kind of confining me.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the only negative part I have at this point, because I like to see what's been done and what we could do. Because we have facilities, I see you put money down for a facility. We have facilities, if something the commission can go forward with, if it was a youth fair.
Yep.
And looking at it that way, seeing what partners would come. Again, I think it's a time issue for me right now.
Gotcha. Keep in mind, we're talking about two things here.
I'm looking at the job fair first, because if you don't have a job fair, I don't think you can move into the
Yeah,
next part
exactly.
of employing or finding people that are employable, unless you start with a job fair and you have these potential partners that, I think of more with us was the internship, and I don't know if that's something that, I don't know the city's requirements on that. But the job fair, to me, starts the step forward to employing youth. When we were kids, we probably went out and got a job. It's not as easy now. A lot of them, as Rusty said, have requirements of being 18 years old. Some of the jobs aren't as easy to get as youth. So I look at the job fair as the start of the momentum to move forward.
I think the job fair would be fair enough as opposed to dealing with the contingency funds in the budget. So I think the job fair, it is doable.
By the
Half
way,
that
I'm
work
real
has already
tough
been
on
done.
Contingency fund, just so you
Yeah.
know, the laugh is, I'm tough on contingency funds.
Let's let Commissioner Fershner.
Okay, thank you.
I applaud you for your effort. I really do, because I agree with it all. But like Commissioner Wilson said, I think the timing is a little too ambitious. Job fair, that can be done because there's not many mechanics involved, and things like that to work out. But the rest of it, you're talking about a lot of work that we would be laying on our departments, our department directors and their staffs, and they haven't even seen this yet. I would need to know what kind of input they have. How is this going to affect them? Is it even doable for them? I like it, I like the idea, but I think we should shoot for maybe next summer as the program, because there's a lot of work involved here. This is very ambitious, and I just think it's going to take a lot more time to develop. A job fair, that's
Yeah.
pretty easy to pull off.
I think,
And contingency funds, you gotta remember, we still are looking at a half a year to go in this budget. And that is for emergency spending. It's not just money laid out there to say, well, whatever we feel like buying, that's what we'll get. There are emergencies that pop up, and I like to keep a little nest egg in the bank myself. But I'm all for it. I'll help you with it. But we need to expand this timeline a little bit, because there's a lot of work involved here, and it's gonna involve a lot of people. So if we can look at that as a yearly project for 18, 19, and going into the summer of 19, I think we'd be in better shape that way, having something formulated and knowing what we want to do with it.
Absolutely. I think from a budget standpoint, that is reasonable. Those are very reasonable comments. So again, I solely agree with those. I think moving forward for this particular proposal, I think that the job fair would be fair enough to bring in the partners to start hiring some of our youth. So again, I would look to propose that we would move forward with sanctioning the job fair itself, and then and look at budgeting for next year for the hiring of the youth for next year.
I know in past we've brought up, other commissioners here before brought up about hiring, it always come up with the age part, about being out on our work job sites and stuff, had to be 18, except for lifeguards, and I don't understand that. That's what they did. And we all want to help the youth. We want to make sure, and I think the job fair, see how many people you can get companies. So what we'd have to do is turn that over to probably Al's department, Joy. Joy can, and public relations. There you go. Find you something to do. Let them set up the job fair, and you work with them, set up the job fair, and see how many companies will come in and sit down and offer
Half the work has
offer
already been
kids
done there.
jobs. I know a lot of them do, but Chick-fil-A hires, I mean, all of them hire. So like I said, but we gotta get them here to see how many will do it, what their requirements are that'll go with the job fair.
I've got commitment from at least 4 on the list already, so.
Well, we need to bring them here. Did they give you their requirements?
Their requirements is that if we have the job fair, they will come and look to hire you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to see what their requirements are for them.
Yeah,
So-
we can work with Commissioner Oliver, try to put together
Okay,
an
all
overall
right.
plan and a budget that we'll need to come back to you for funding because
Yeah.
there's no free events. We have to have staff to work and
Yeah,
those types of things.
everything costs.
So
All right.
we'll need to put together a plan that's more fleshed out and bring that back to
Okay.
you.
Have
Yeah.
you by any chance checked with Senator, I don't know, I believe Senator Bracy had one in the past, I don't know if have you checked by any chance?
I've already had the conversation with them. That's why I got the list of the names of
Okay.
the ones that will commit to come.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, everybody's except for me, so I'll wait till the end. Consent agenda, I have a fill out here from Adam Lovejoy. Is he here?
in the back.
You don't have to talk, I mean, it's gonna be on the consent agenda, but if you.
I just want to say thanks for your consideration.
Okay, you can. Okay, all right. All right, so that's on the consent agenda, we're fixing to vote on that. So, all right, do I hear anybody want to make a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Motion made by Commissioner Grogan to accept the consent agenda, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Let's vote. You're on, it's on there.
Welcome, Adam.
Welcome, Adam. All right.
Bring some friends.
Okay.
We're going to
First reading.
item 9. First reading of ordinance for Vaughn property, 451 Ocoee, Popka, annexation and rezoning project.
This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Ocoee, Florida, certain real property containing approximately .83 acres located on the east side of Ocoee-Apopka Road, 1,650 feet north of Silver Star Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding said annexation to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, the Ocoee City Code, and the Joint Planning Area Agreement, providing for and authorizing the updating of official city maps, providing direction to the city clerk, providing for severability, repealing inconsistent ordinances, and providing an effective date. That was the annexation ordinance. This is the rezoning ordinance. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, changing the zoning classification from Orange County A1 agricultural to Ocoee R1 AAA single-family dwelling on certain real property containing approximately .83 acres located on the east side of Ocoee-Popka Road, 1,650 feet north of Silver Star Road, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, the Ocoee City Code, and the Joint Planning Area Agreement, providing for and authorizing the revision of official city zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
All right, first reading was tonight. Second reading will be scheduled for the May the 15th, 2018. If any comments, we'll open it up for the public hearing that night. All right. Go to item number 10, first reading of ordinance amending the Land Development Code concerning the Planning and Zoning Commission, Land Planning Agency, and the Board of Adjustment. I have a speaker for that. We'll call up after we read the things.
All right, this is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending Section 3-2 of the City of Ocoee Land Development Code relating to the Planning and Zoning Commission, providing for a 5-member Planning and Zoning Commission, providing for a method by which members will be appointed by the mayor and city commissioners, amending the duties of the Planning and Zoning Commission, amending subsection 4-3C and paragraph 4-4G3 of the City of Ocoee Land Development Code to remove final site plan and final subdivision plan review from the jurisdiction of the Planning and Zoning Commission, amending section 4-9 of the City of Ocoee Land Development Code and section 34-39 of the City of Ocoee Code of Ordinances to allow the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider matters previously under the jurisdiction of the Board of Adjustment, amending section 3-3 of the City of Ocoee Land Development Code, dissolving the City of Ocoee Board of Adjustment, repealing City of Ocoee Ordinance 89-19, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
All right. Usually we don't have opening comments. I don't go to the public hearing. But is there a reason you're not going to be here at the next one?
I don't know, my wife's had some surgery and I have to take.
All right, I'll go ahead and let you make your comments, because give us your name and your address. Usually we do the comments at the second meeting. We do have your letter that you put up.
Thank you.
I would just caution the city commission not to ask a lot of questions tonight.
I'm just letting you know.
Right, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I've had the honor of being on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the last 5 years, and I've learned an awful lot from the city staff, and I admire the work that they do, particularly under the circumstances we've had since the Great Recession passed, and all the work that they've had to do. We asked last year, sometime after you all changed your meeting time, if we could change our meeting time to 6:30. We were told that had to go to the city commission. We said, okay, well, please do, send it up. We never heard anything until 4 days before the last meeting, which was maybe 6 to 8 months later. Our last meeting in April, 4 days before, we got a package that basically had all of this in it. We had no input in it at that point. We'd had no discussion of it. And so what I'd like to do is encourage you to take the time that you have to look at this that we didn't have. Our quick review that we had to do on the spur of the moment at our last meeting, there were only 2 provisions that are being asked for that we agreed with. One was we agreed as the Planning and Zoning Commission that we could take on the Code of Adjustment Board responsibilities. And of course, we agreed with the ability to make the time change. All the rest is a solution in search of a problem. There is no problem. There is nothing in the current ordinance that's contrary to the state statute. Nothing has to be changed to continue the good work that I believe we do to look at these proposals in detail and sparing you the time of having to do that, as you did tonight. There are 2 items that we went through in great detail on your consent agenda, and I think you can have confidence that we looked at those and you could see our comments on them and put them on the consent agenda and not spend your time with them. This proposal takes the number of members from 9 to 5 in the interest of improving the chances of getting a quorum. Some of you know I've got a mathematical background. The odds of having to cancel a meeting in a year actually triple if you go from 9 members to 5 members. So that makes no sense. The other thing that doesn't make any sense to us is having non-residents on the Planning and Zoning Commission that they're proposing. They propose to have a property owner be on Planning and Zoning Commission. It's hard to fathom why a property owner would want to be on, that's not a resident, be on a Planning and Zoning other than for their own financial benefit. We would like to also have the opportunity to help police our own. This requires automatic removal of any member who misses more than 2 meetings in a year. Automatic, no question. What we'd like to do is, I don't think I've ever missed more than 2 meetings, but even last year I had a double knee replacement. I managed to not miss more than 2 meetings, but I think that's kind of a stretch for people who are volunteers and so what we'd like to do is if someone misses 3 meetings, we'd like to be able to review the reasons and make a recommendation to the City Commission rather than just have an automatic removal after 3 meetings. So I don't want to belabor this thing any longer, but I would ask you to take a hard look at it, and I'll come back if I can on the 15th and see if they can answer or discuss any more questions. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right, we're going to go.
Mayor, I just want to I received a text from Rob McKee. I'm going to go ahead and send it to Melanie, the tape, just so it's going to go on the record.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right, so
Thank you.
you got to read it now? Okay. All right, so this will come back on May the 15th at the meeting on May the 15th, regular commission meeting. All right. Go to item number 11, second reading ordinance. Second reading of ordinance amending chapter 16, violations. Chief Brown.
You want me to go ahead and read it?
Yes, please.
I'll I'll go ahead and read the title to the ordinance and to the resolution. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending Chapter 16 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ocoee entitled Violations, establishing a violations hearing special magistrate, providing for powers and duties of the violations hearing special magistrate, providing for notice of violation requirements, providing for notice of violations, fines, and procedures, providing for hearings to contest notices of violations, providing for fine collection procedures, dissolving the violations hearing board, providing for conforming changes at sections 113-4, 124-4, and 153-18 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ocoee, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing an effective date. And then the resolution is a resolution of the City of Ocoee, Florida, establishing a fine and fee schedule as authorized by Ordinance 2018-18 relating to the violations hearing special magistrate established at Chapter 16 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ocoee, repealing Resolution 2013-5, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Did you read all of them? We need to do each one of these separate. All right. You need any more comments, or you want me to go ahead?
I was just going to recommend that you adopt the changes that we're going to make to Chapter 16.
All right, I'm
resolution.
going to open it to the public. Anybody in the public have any comments? Did you fill out a form, Ms. Lane?
I couldn't because I'm disabled.
Oh.
I can't write with my
We'll
my
make,
right arm.
okay, we'll make somebody help you out. All right, come on up to the podium.
Thank you. Sorry, I have a knee injury too. So, there we go. Yes, I came this evening. I hope I'm disarming, but not in the same way that I lost the use of my arm and you know, don't give me the cold shoulder. I already have one. I just hope that it won't be frozen by the time this therapy is over. So I have been on the violations hearing board, I believe, since the beginning, and I'm really sad to see you want to, you know, have it go. I think we served a purpose beyond what the magistrate will serve under this new ordinance, and I want to just pass on. I think you're going to pass it, but I want to just, one of the purposes we served is we saw the citizens come, we listened to them. One of our members was required to be on the Citizen Advisory Council for the Ocoee Police Department. We could bring the information back to the police, and I know personally I took it on myself to educate citizens all the time. Did you realize you're not supposed to park over the sidewalk? Did you realize if you park in the wrong direction, you know, not with the flow of traffic, that you might get a ticket? And other things. We learned from the cases that came before us, and we did our best to multiply that. In the beginning, when we heard the red light camera ordinances, we would hear many cases a night, 20 cases, sometimes even more. It did diminish in the recent years, but I like to think that's partly a result of our educational efforts to tell people, here's things. I'm sad we never got to hear a bow fishing ordinance case, but that's okay. But I basically have three recommendations of things that you can do as a result of our service, which would recognize our service and make Ocoee a better place for citizens. I haven't been able to make any notes, but I'm just speaking from my heart here. The first thing is, and it's partly based in my own experience. A few years ago, I was taking care of my elderly mother, came home from the doctor, and there in front of the house were no parking signs. Had no idea those were coming, no opportunity to give input about it, no opportunity to have those removed, and it cost hundreds of dollars because she had medical personnel coming. They couldn't park around the corner where there were no parking signs and drag their equipment around the corner. So we tried paying for it, but some of them said, no, this is crazy. You mean they put those up and never even had a hearing, never gave you an opportunity for input? I know this is still happening today. There's families in our neighborhood, and if we were a gated community, it would be different. Then we would have the ability to put up parking signs and control our own street. But in our case, these are public streets. And in one case I know of, our homeowners association paid money to have no parking signs put up in front of a house that tended to have a lot of visitors there. And if these are public streets, and if Ocoee wants no parking signs there, then Ocoee should pay for them. But also, more than that, Ocoee should send a letter or have some kind of notice and say, we've received complaints about parking, we're considering putting no parking signs, or whatever it may be. Let the people speak. Hear them. Let them say, do you understand we're just doing a Bible study for 2 weeks this summer, or whatever it may be that's causing parking concerns. In my case, there had never been an accident in front of my house. We had lived there for more than 10 years. And yet we had this incredible burden. We couldn't even have a birthday party for Mother for her last birthday because there was no place for her elderly friends to be able to park and come into the house. It was just not realistic. And so that's one thing. Don't put up no parking signs in front of residences without giving the people an opportunity to be informed of it and to be heard before it happens. The second thing is an educational component. It's been a while since I have lived here, so I assume that Mayor Johnson sends out friendly, welcoming letters like Mayor Scott did, because I still remember when I moved in, I'd had a corporate career, I'd been transferred all over the United States, and never before had I moved to a place where I got a friendly letter from the mayor welcoming me to the city. It was delightful. Can we use these welcoming letters or other opportunities to inform citizens about the things that they're not going to hear anymore about from the Violations Hearing Board? Can we say, here's just a few rules, some things you should know? Could we put it on the water bill? When people would come appear before us at the Violations Hearing Board, most of them never deliberately did a parking violation. They didn't realize that they shouldn't do that. They felt bad. They just didn't know any better. And so can we inform them so that these violations won't happen to begin with? And so, like I said, now I don't know some condos, I don't know whether individual residents get the water bills, but everyone can get a welcoming letter. There's other ways of letting people know about parking violations, even just giving them a warning notice. The very last case we heard was of a truck driver, and he had been parking in the same place for years, and then all of a sudden he got a parking ticket for that place, which didn't even have no parking signs, but someone had complained about the truck park there, and he ended up with a ticket. It made me sad. I tried to actually get some place in Ocoee where it would be okay to park a truck. I had a friend, she was a dear friend, she was a wonderful addition to the city of Ocoee. They moved out of Ocoee because it was so difficult to park a truck here. And when I talked to people, they said, well, their company should do something. These are independent contractors. They don't have a company to provide them with the resources. They're so happy to get home. They want to get home, park the truck, and be with their family for the weekend before they have to take off again. The third thing is as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about some of the people that appeared before us, all the people through all those cases, through all those years. And one of the saddest things we would have is someone who came, they did commit the violation. We felt like we were obligated to find that they had done it and therefore deny their appeal, since this was an appellate process. But they were poor. And I remember this lady sitting here, an obviously disabled lady, crying and saying, this means my grandchildren won't have Christmas. I wanted to go pay her fine out of my own pocket, but I was told you can't do that. I was told there was a problem with that, but it was heartbreaking. So I would like to see, if you want to replace this with a magistrate, I can't stop that, but it just seems there ought to be a way for some people, and if you limit it to people on supplemental nutrition assistance program, almost done, SNAP benefits or some criteria approved by the police, no criminal record, whatever it might be, give them an opportunity to work off their fine in certain situations. Now, I saw the principal of Ocoee Elementary School out in her beautiful suit one day picking up trash between the elementary school and the road. And that made me feel so bad. Now, if I'm driving by there, I try and stop, leave 10 minutes early, and pick up the trash. I want to help be a solution. I can't do that right now, obviously, but it seems like with the schools, I know I'm a registered certified volunteer. There's a process. That costs the city of Ocoee nothing. We wouldn't have to spend any money to allow people to volunteer. Yes, we might lose the fine, but they're going to invest it in other ways in our city. And so those are the three things I would ask for. Just summarizing and ending is let's not put up no parking signs in front of people's houses without giving them advance notice and an opportunity to comment on the proposed signs. Let's give people more education on what could result in a parking ticket or other violation. And third, let's allow people to work off fines in certain limited cases. Those cases wouldn't even have to go before the magistrate. They could be diverted through the police department. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your patience. And, you know, I'm going to miss the violations hearing board probably more than you will, but I think we served a noble purpose, and I'm pleased that you gave me the opportunity to do that service for the city.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else in the audience have any comments? Not closing it, bringing it back to Dice. We're here.
I have comments.
Huh?
I have comments.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Victoria. I know you were on the board, on that board, and we appreciate the service. I've given us a lot of thought. I didn't like, I think I was vocal last time, I didn't like that board members' expiration dates were kind of just left out there, so it ended up being one member that was actively on the board, correct? That didn't settle well with me, because I don't think we as a city should allow that to happen, and that should not have happened. But in recent meetings, we've had some discussions, and I get folks that call me that have problems with loud music down at the park. And as the park gets larger, we're going to continue to have these problems. And the only way you're going to stop it is by violation letters, violations, and enforcement. And then when we had that issue in one of our neighborhoods where we have someone that had 2 violation letters and nothing's been done, we upset a lot of neighbors. And no one is paying for that. Those folks haven't paid one of the violation notices they were given. And it got me thinking that what do we have to do to enforce this? What do we have to do that if the board was great, but I'm concerned now with larger things that are happening in our city. And does that mean we're going to have to be an enforcer? And I guess that's what it's going to have to be. Because I can't afford to have another neighborhood have a situation like it had a month ago with a large party. And, you know, we're taught how to park when we're 16 or when we get a license, and we probably should be continuing to do that. I will say one thing, Victoria, I do not believe no parking signs, at least the ones that I'm involved in, are put up randomly. They're put up when they've gone around and checked to make sure emergency vehicles can get through the neighborhood. And that's been mostly the no parking signs that I've been involved with when there's a hazard. But I think, let's go back to the violation board. I was really wanting to keep the violation board till I thought about some of these issues that are coming up before us, which are, we have a larger park coming in, we're going to have noise issues down there that we're gonna have to find a way to control. And if that means giving tickets, then we have to have tickets and they have to be enforced. I don't like pitting neighbors against neighbors. And that's what happens with a board of this nature, that you could very easily have your neighbor come up, and it's very hard to say, I want to fine you $50 when you're going to go home and look at, and I'm not saying that's. If I would recuse. Okay, but I'm talking about neighbors in general in the community. We run into everyone in the community, and when you run into them and say, I'm going to fine you $50, now that's a tough thing about a neighbor versus neighbor. And I think by taking that neighbor out of there and making it a magistrate, and that for our volunteers on that board to come to our boards, other boards that we have that are on a more friendlier basis. I come from boards, I spent many days on boards before I ever became commissioner. And those are boards that you don't pit neighbors against neighbors. So I was really against this one, but I guess I've kind of talked myself into it because I'm very concerned about what's going to happen in the future. And again, that one neighborhood really resonated with an issue that we can't tolerate that. and we have to enforce that. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, that they've got fines sitting out there, I guess, haven't paid.
Yes, ma'am.
So, sorry, I went on my
That's all right.
soapbox, but thank
No,
you.
That's good. I'll let somebody else speak if they want to, but I will tell you that semis, trucks are a problem. Nobody wants them in the neighborhoods, so there is a problem. I mean, they have to figure that out when they drive. You drive up a 55-foot-long semi and park in somebody's neighborhood, they don't really want to see it.
No, I agree.
And we got a problem in our town where we got a couple people parking about 3 of them around downtown. We're trying to redo our downtown and beautify the area and do things, and then they come in and park semis downtown. So that's some of the violations, and they don't care. They'll take a $5 ticket or a $10 ticket. The other thing is, I went to a Little League game last night, and I rode by this house on a little street, probably with a 50-foot wide lot, maybe 100 deep. You know how many cars were parked in the yard that live there? And I do it every time I go by. 7 cars. 7. So, that's just part. Anybody else want to make comments on this? All right, I need a motion.
This is a motion for approval of the ordinance.
This is the first one, the ordinance. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Motion made by Commissioner First. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Grogan. Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. I need a motion for resolution establishing fines and lien fees.
Motion made to establish lines and fees.
Motion made by Commissioner Grogan. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Oliver? Motion made by Commissioner Grogan, seconded by Commissioner Oliver. Let's vote. All right, I need a motion for violations here in Special Magistrate Service Agreement.
I make a motion to approve the services agreement with Special Magistrate.
Motion made by Commissioner First. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Grogan. Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right. There's other boards. We'll get you on another board. You're on another board, aren't you? You're on another board, aren't you?
I'm on the Citizen Advisory Council for the Ocoee Police Department. I was also the.
You do a fine job on there, too.
I was also on the canvassing board. that
Yes,
certified
okay,
election.
that's right.
And
Yep.
we
All right.
appreciate that.
We appreciate all
Regular
volunteers.
agenda, none. Staff actions, Greg?
No more at this time.
All right. Comments from commissioners. Commissioner Oliver.
None.
Commissioner Firstman.
The city pool is opening this weekend, Saturday, May 5th. Go out and have fun, but remember it is Water Safety Month, so be careful while you're having your fun.
Commissioner Wilson.
Mayor, you're gonna mention, I know it's early, but are you gonna mention the 19th for people to put on their calendar? Is that something on one of your items? The police picnic?
I'm looking for it here.
I don't wanna say it.
No, go ahead.
I just want, we'll
Yeah,
have
it's on here.
okay, well then wait till you get there. Okay, fine. I have nothing else to say at this point, I don't believe.
All right, I got it. John, Commissioner
I
Grogan?
have nothing.
All right. We have a letter here from the Florida State Coordinator for Prayers. They want to have a prayer day or use our gazebo on May the 3rd, which is quite soon.
Thursday.
That's.
Thursday.
No, they're just gonna go out and pray, I think, for about an hour and pray. They just wanna know if we can use the gazebo.
Motion to approve.
All right, everybody,
Yeah,
here's a
there's
second.
second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson, seconded by Commissioner Firstman. All right, vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, here's announcements. Family Aquatic Center, Commissioner Firstman said, the regular scheduled Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for next week, Tuesday, May 8th, has been canceled. Ooh.
What is it? What's that?
What was it?
Planning and Zoning Commission meeting has been canceled next week. All right, Coffee with a Police Officer is next week, Wednesday, May the 9th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Breakfast Club of Ocoee. The Ocoee Police Department's 9th Annual Community Picnic is Saturday, May the 19th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Freedom Park, which is located at 351 Thornbrook Drive. That's off McGuire Road. All right, and the last part here is, I just want to thank the city for sending the Diversity Board Chairman Kathleen Crown Member William Maxwell and Nicole Dawkins to Montgomery, Alabama for the grand opening of the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. I went with them. They're going to come up with a report. I think we're going to try to meet Friday and kind of put our notes together and come back, and we'll bring a report to the commission. But the diversity board's working on that. It was an interesting trip, something I think was, would encourage anyone in the area to go see it. And it's a lot of sentimental, a lot of heartfelt stuff at that memorial. So we had some great conversations with each other, and you will get the benefits of that when we get together and lay out the plans and also the thing. So they will probably tell you also that they really appreciated the commission for, I think you were absent, Commissioner Oliver, but they approved to send them up there, and it was an interesting trip. So they will bring a report to us after our next diversity meeting. All right? Meeting over.